a broad subject, one that has been there for as long as we can remember, for as long as we can look, for as long as we can find it in any history or any part of documentation. We find that healing has been part of human society, even though uh, it seems that the more that we evolve, the worse our health becomes. And so that is a big wonder to many. Um, However, again, with our research, what me personally have come to realize is that what breaks down the human body, it is the presence of substances that are not supposed to be part of the human body. In creation, we have a lot of elements, a lot of substances. Some of these substances, when separated, they becomes harmful, some even dangerous or lethal to a point that they can eliminate you or kill you. Or when some of these substances are added to other substances, they will also create the same harmful effect. Now, again, when we look at the human body, what we have evolved to, because again, like I said, this is a huge spectrum, just like in the beginning there, I was conversing with Brother Salim, and we have concluded that everything that is present to us is of our own creation, which means the collective consciousness have created that, including food, right? Including what we consume today, or rather, including the way that we survive, or rather, the way the life unfolds. We have found that in cases, or some cases, that uh, we have found people that survives without food or with little food. And what happens in those cases after studying them, it is the source of the energy because again, all of it, we are electrical beings, right? We are we are full of cells, which is as far as we can go and identify something that we can make sense of because there's so much more again that we cannot make sense of. But by starting at a point where we are able to make sense, we find cells inside our bodies. And these cells, what they do is they require energy to be able to perform the processes or the mitosis, the cell process is called mitosis, which means they are able to uh, reproduce, rather, and make other cells or make organs or make limbs, which makes the human body. These cells, again, as I mentioned, they kind of their processes of multiplying or reproducing. They also have the processes by which they take in energy, or rather uses the energy to reproduce or multiply, and they dies off. I mean, their process is so rapid, like a split of a second, you lose millions of cells, and millions others are supposed to be reproduced, right? Or they're supposed to be multiplicated, or they're supposed to kind of die off, and others come into play to keep the process going. So they need energy which is obviously they have to get it from somewhere. Now, in our current state, the energy is usually from food or from sugars, right? Or broken down. When we break down the food, what we get out of those foods is the sugars that gives the cells energy. And then they do their process, they die off. Then they have to be eliminated out of the body uh, to make sure that the waste is removed from the body. Again, before they even get to the point of dying off, they even go to the bathroom where they have their own waste, right? That they get from the cells from whatever process they go. The same way as us, like a smaller version of us, where we are born, then we feed on something, then we remove the excess. I don't even want to call it waste because it's not supposed to be waste. See, in nature, they're not supposed to be any waste in nature. However, again, due to our processes, a human being, we have created substances or we have produced substances that produces waste. And again, this is where most of the problems started coming in, where the substances that we are producing, the substances that we are consuming, are producing waste that actually becomes harmful or actually becomes uh, the food or becomes the bed or again the waste produces something that can be harmful to the human body. Again, not being sidetracked so much, we're talking about the foods and their relationship to our health. What we have found out is most of the foods that we consume were a creation or a byproduct of the original foods. What I mean by that, nature or the creator created certain foods to actually be in certain demographics for actually certain people who are also placed in those areas. For example, if you look at the plants that are found in places like Africa, you find that they resonate with the DNA of the people that are around the area if you dig deeper. Or if you get to the point where now, because again, in nature, the coding is almost infinite, it's almost endless. There's a way that no matter what happens, nature is supposed to, is capable of taking care of itself and everything in it, including humans. So again, like I was stating before, we have found people that are able to survive without food by tapping in other energy sources, because again, it's all about energy. But again, today, where we are today, most people are in the stages or um, in an environment that only food, they can only survive with food. And if they don't consume food, they can even end up dying, right? So that's where we are today, where we eat to survive or we eat to live. Um, Now, again, the problem came in where man or humans started mixing up some of these plants, right, for different reasons, right? Some of the reasons were to be able to grow similar plants in areas that they are not native of, right? Let's say, for instance, things like corn or maize, which is very common in places like Africa or Kenya. We found like corn came out of a plant called Tosiente. This is it's like a wild grass that grows in Central America. So they wanted to produce something that would uh, be more palatable or grow in a controlled environment. So they took this Tosiente and kind of uh, manufactured it in a way that we know like GMOs of today. They, they, they genetically modified it and added things like starch to make it bigger and to make it more palatable. And again, today, if you look at the corn, or if you have raw corn and you bite in it, you will see the milky stuff that comes out of it. That is starch. And again, was added to kind of bind together uh, the, the, the tissue of the plant that they modified so they can it can act like a glue. Again, starch, and this goes to all the starchy plants. Uh, it was added to the plants to make them more palatable, or to be like a glue, or to mix two different plants which are not of the same genetic background. And so they cannot, in nature, if you look in nature, uh, two different plants from different genetic background cannot mate, including animals, right? And so to create them, or to make them bind together, they had to use some type of a glue. This was done around the 1800. A lot of this was done around the 1800 by the so-called explorers. They did a lot of hybridization, because when they started exploring the world, they found a lot of these different foods or grasses, like this particular one, corn or maize that we're talking about. They found it in Central America, the so-called Christopher Columbus, and the people there were eating it, and so they wanted to introduce it to different parts of the world. They took it back to Europe, modified it in order it can grow in different places. Now again, with the addition of starch, right, it was able to grow in all type of places all over the world, in places that it was not native of. And again, with the addition of this so-called starch, is a substance that again it does not belong to the cosmic arrangement of nature, how naturally things were supposed uh, to be, right? So when you add something like that, and then you put it in a human body, the human body is very powerful. Again, it's able to protect itself, is able to change up, is able to do a lot of things uh, in order to make sure that it's not broken down, or it's not, you know, attacked. However, it can only defend itself for so long, or it can only defend itself from uh, so many attacks until it starts breaking down. And this is what we are experiencing. So, again, most of these foods that we eat today, they are foods that have been modified. And the way that you will know that is you will not find them growing in the wilderness by themselves. So that's how you know that they were not part of creation. And if you leave it by itself, it would end up dying off because it don't have the cosmic arrangement for it to survive like all the plants that had cosmic arrangement from creation to be able to survive, whether man being there or humans not being there, be able to survive. If you look at the corn, sweet potatoes, rice, wheat, if you look at all these things, they are not able to survive without humans. They need humans for them to reproduce or to survive. However, all the natural plants are able to reproduce, they are able to survive without whether there's humans there or whether they are not. Um, and so, what we have found out is most of the diseases are a product of these so-called plants that have been modified. Again, some of the things that have been added to these um, plants causes issues in the body, like uh, again, when you're talking about sugar, which is what the cells use, you have mechanisms in the body that controls the sugar. If it's too much or if it's not enough, like the pancreas or the organ called the pancreas produces insulin to control the blood sugar. Now, when you are dealing with something, because again, what they did is they made these plants so powerful that it's like for instance, where we are talking about something like energy, we are talking about something like a battery versus a nuclear energy. The nuclear energy is extremely powerful. However, when an accident happens or if it's not controlled, it's lethal, is dangerous, right? So it's the same thing here with some of these plants. They are so powerful for the body to control their byproduct, which is usually the problem, the byproduct. You find that uh, the byproduct, again, in this case, the sugar, it is not a natural sugar that the body can uh, convert effectively into energy and then remove any excess without any trouble. These plants are either extremely powerful or the sugar itself will cause blowbacks or will cause issues, for instance, like clogging up the pancreatic duct, which now results in somebody having diabetes, right? Again, if you look at a diabetic case and you remove these non-natural plants, you find that that person heals from the diabetes, right? So again, most of these foods that we are consuming today are either very powerful or the byproduct is harmful to the human body. Again, this sugar, most of it is stored in our bodies as fat. The body can only use what it needs. Everything else, it stores it in the body for later use. In this case, the sugar, which is stored again as fat. And that's why you see people being fat or people being overweight because they are consuming a lot of these uh, um, modified foods that the body cannot fully process or it's too much for the body, and so it stores the rest of it as fat. So that's one scenario where we are having issues. And again, the body is connected. If one part is affected, it's going to affect other parts in different forms or different ways. You have others, for instance, things like animal products. right? Again, the coding or uh, the cosmic arrangement, you have some animals that are coded to consume animals, right? And they are able to process these animals. Even in a scientific sense, if you look at them, for instance, the processing center, which is the alimentary canal or your GI tract or your colon, rather, is different for animals that consume other animals uh, and animals that consume plants. The animals that consume plants, their alimentary canal is way longer than the animals that consume fresh. This is because fresh needs to go through uh, the process very quickly and come out because again, fresh rots, right? When it rots, it creates organisms, the organisms that are harmful or can be harmful being inside uh, a body, right? And again, we find that most of these animals that consume fresh do have these microbes, do have these worms. And the same case here now with human beings. Them consuming other animals, or because we have been consuming animals, we find that we are having issues with our processing center, which is supposed to be open. It's like, for instance, if you have a butchery there, you never cleans. I mean, eventually it's gonna create some dangerous environment. They can create very harmful effects. It's the same thing with our GI tract, right? We are constantly using it, and it's not fully, uh, you know, uh, draining out, or it's not fully being cleaned. So there's a lot of residue in there. There's a lot of unprocessed, decaying matter in there. Again, the human body, it got mechanisms to kind of break it down or help it, but it can only do so much. Eventually, it end up breaking down, and again, it's all connected. If the cells are not really uh, breaking down properly, because again, whatever they are consuming, or again, some of this material that we consume, again, this case, like the animals, they end up clogging up our lymphatic system. The lymphatic system is a system that cleans up the metabolic waste, which is the cells and things of that nature. So it cleans up the dead cells and it cleans up uh, the waste of the cells, or rather the byproducts of the cells. Now, if this system is clogged up, it means that this byproduct and this waste is not being removed from the body. So it keep recycling, and then what end up happening is that affecting the processes of the cells, and before you know it, you have issues like cancer, or rather colon cancer, and cancers of other places, which could be affected. Again, things like animals have uh, things like cholesterol that the body is not able to process. So if you're consuming animals and their products, your likelihood of having high cholesterol, which again clogs up the system, high protein, uh, clogs up the system where again the blood is pumped through, right? Your arteries, right? It means that you're not getting the blood through as efficient as you should be. This causes issues like heart attacks, causes issues like strokes, and things of that nature. Again, these are caused by the lack of enough oxygen getting to the brain. As you can see, it's all connected in different areas, different parts of the body. And the root cause of all of it in this time and day is this process is this is constantly, the body is constantly fighting to create a balance because the raw material that we are providing it for the energy is not supposed to be the raw material that it was built for. Is for instance, here people giving examples like you having a diesel vehicle and you're constantly putting gasoline fuel in it. The vehicle will eventually break down because you're not giving it the right raw materials. Again, with things like animals, you have hormones, right? These hormones that belong to another animal now are coming inside a human body. This is going to interfere with your regular hormones, right? That's why you see, for instance, we have young girls having a lot of issues, or females having a lot of issues with their reproductive system because their hormones has been affected by the presence of other animal hormones. Start experiencing things like heavy menstrual periods in the beginning, pimples, busting up pimples, and again, before or previously, people would think this is something that's supposed to happen. This is normal. You're going through puberty, so you're supposed to break up. Uh, then you start having menstrual periods for the girls. They are painful, unbearable, heavy. Uh, this again was um, viewed to be as normal, which is not so because again, we have experienced once you remove these foods out of the diet, the female reproductive system goes back to normal. And again, this will continue if you don't change it, it will continue into the next stage where now some of these you know substances are hardening, becoming cysts and becoming things like endometriosis, or they're becoming things like uh, fibroids. They are blocking up the fallopian tubes, so they are affecting the whole body in different ways. Again, you continue consuming it, you end up coming up with cancer, or again, the other part that they cause is uh, substances again like uric acid, which belongs to other animals. After consuming animals for so long, it start building up uh, in in your body, right? And again, your lymphatic system, the kidneys being part of it, start being clogged up, and you're not able to remove this uric acid, and so it start hardening and crystallizing in your joints, right? And then due to that, you start experiencing inflammation, which again people call arthritis. So you can see all this is all connected. Various parts of the body get affected by the the wrong raw material, right? And again, if it doesn't become one thing, it transforms into something else. Again, we have experienced that if you consume the all natural plants, uh, you are more likely to live a healthy life without any issues whatsoever, any diseases, uh, than somebody who is consuming some of these substances. Again, uh, another part that becomes vital in our lifestyle is, again, the body is able to process constantly, be able to fight and process some of these harmful substances. And now a big problems comes in when the body is stressed out. Again, when you have a situation where, because the body works again in full, and the mind is constantly leading or commanding the body on what to do. Uh, One of the best ways that this happens is when you are in a joyful state, when you are happy. That lets the body know that, hey, everything is okay, so it keep fighting, right? It doesn't break down at all. However, when you get to those situations where you uh, not so happy and you're stressed out, the body takes that as a command that you're weak or you're not able to command it. And what happens is, because again, there's so much that's fighting against you because of the raw material that you have been giving the body, that it shuts down very easily at that point, or a disease pops up very easily at that point. And again, this is where you can find somebody who might be consuming a diet that is not so healthy versus somebody who is consuming a diet that is okay or on the healthier side. But the person who is consuming healthy is stressed out and sick versus the person who is not consuming healthy food and they're okay because they're not stressed out. Right? So again, the body is constantly fighting and trying to fight. But things like stress really breaks it down to the next level, where it's very easy to create, because again, it's all like a creation, where you get to the stage, uh, and and you know you're not able to sustain yourself, or the commands that you are sending, the signals that you're sending, is the signals of being down, the signals of not being uh, uh, kind of electrical, rather. You're not being strong enough, right? And so this shuts down things like your immune system, which again is constantly to fight off things like pathogens, which could have been introduced there again by your diet or by consuming things that don't belong inside a human body. Again, this is a process that has been going on for a long time, and it keep getting worse because, again, for instance, if you look back, not too far back, we can even see that most of the issues that we have today, they was not as bad as they are today. However, back then, most of the foods that we used to consume were better off than the foods that we are consuming today. Again, if you look before, let's say, the 1800s or the 1600s, you find like there was very few issues, very few issues. Again, the foods that most people are consuming around that time were all natural foods that they used to gather from the wild. But again, now we have started, we genetically modify the food. Then on top of that, we have processed the food, making it even worse. So now we got two things that are working against us. And then on top of that, we have added things like chemicals, which are also very dangerous. So now you see, there's so many things that are working against the human body. And this is the reason why we are seeing the illnesses, the things that we are experiencing today. Again, that coupled with the stress that we have created, because all this is a creation. We created this. Humankind created all this, right? We have created a lifestyle of uh, having to be stressed all the time. because we have created bills, we have created things that we need or we think that we need, and so to sustain their lifestyle, it's a very stressful endeavor for most, right? And so what end up happening is it's very easy for people to get sick, or their defense mechanism due to the stress and the raw material, a combination of the stress and the raw material uh, is creating, right? We find that uh, most people inherit this from, again, we inherited this from our ancestors, right? Whatever they were consuming was passed down to uh, you know the generations that came. Scientifically, if you look at a grandmother, you'll find that, or a mother who has a daughter inside her belly, you find that the daughter is created having all her eggs inside the mother's belly. So if a child was born out of this daughter, it means that the grandmother created their child, meaning that, again, all the processes are connected. So whatever the grandmother was eating, consuming, state of mind, whatever she was dealing with, she kind of passes that to her daughter who is in her belly, and then the daughter passes some of that to the eggs that are already inside of her. And again, when she is born, she got to live her life, and whatever she picks up, whatever she accumulates along the way, uh, becomes part of her, and then again is passed on from the beginning. So when the child is born, they're already born with some of these issues, and then again, once they are born, they are inflicted with all type of things, all type of conditioning. And on top of that, the raw material that we are feeding the children is not the proper raw material that the cosmic arrangement uh, was set up, or the way the cosmic arrangement was set up, we have disrupted it in a manner that is disruptive. Again, most of these things, because we are using them, uh, is the source of the energy, they end up causing a lot of issues to a point that what we see now is as advanced as we are, it's like diseases are moving towards the opposite direction. I mean, it seems that we are progressing uh, in technology and things of the nature. However, diseases are becoming more and more and more and more. And in actuality, if you look at it, or if you look at the medical industry, uh, there's not much they have really been able to achieve. And now again, it have been kind of um, adapted, or healing rather, has been joined together with the financial system. Right, so now it have becomes almost like a business, right? So it's like, you know a situation where now it's a supply and demand, right? So I guess if you know business, you know that the way to be successful is to have a demand of something and supply the demand to the people, and then you'll have a successful business. So again, if you have illnesses, you're able to supply a way to maintain, because that's all they are doing now, is maintaining these illnesses till you are of age, and then you expire, and then the next person come on, and it continues. Again, a little background of how this is, or how our research have uh, taken us to this conclusion that all diseases, as a matter of fact, I'll even go to as far as saying all diseases of today are created by the raw materials and the state of mind through which we are living today. Again, is very reversible. We have seen it being reversed very easily with the right state of mind and with the right raw materials. We're talking about any disease that you can think of. We have experienced it to be reversed with the right state of mind, the right raw materials. Again, when we consume foods, one of the most important or the most important part of consuming foods is minerals. Even the animals that eat animals, they eat those animals for the minerals. And then those animals, most of them eat plants, where plants get the minerals again from the soil, convert those minerals into a soluble state where the animals or the human bodies is able to assimilate or is able to take up those minerals, and they can assimilate with the minerals that are already inside the body. Now, in a lot of cases, you find that two things are also happening. Most people are also falling ill because of the deficiency of these minerals. They are not getting enough minerals. Again, this is due to the fact that the plants that we are consuming are not converting enough minerals uh, to begin with. So even if you consume it, you don't have enough minerals of what it is that you're looking for. Most of these plants, again, if you look at their roots, they are very shallow. They only take their roots, something like a maize plant. If you pull it, its roots is very shallow. It only go to the topsoil. Again, most of the people who grow these foods are growing them because of commercial purposes. And so they grow them over and over and over again on the same land. So the land is depleted of the minerals. And so what they do is they go get synthetic fertilizers, which again, they are not natural. This is what they have done is they have gone and looked at the the chemistry of what the plant does or what the plant gets from the soil, and they have created a synthetic version of it. It's like a plastic version of it, right? So this synthetic version does not belong in a human body. Yes, it's the same chemistry, but it's a synthetic fertilizer. It's a synthetic version that don't belong uh, in a natural body, in an electrical body. So again, they feed these fertilizers to these plants, which again, these plants converts these fertilizers into whatever is gonna feed you. And so what you're eating is basically uh, something that's gonna cause some issues, or the residue out of it, or the byproduct is somehow, somewhere gonna create issues in your system because your system was not created to consume this type of synthetic versions of the mimicking of nature. So again, when you look at that, you find that uh, that's causing more issues. So you're not getting enough minerals or the byproduct from the fertilizers or the pesticides. Again, that's another thing they use so they can get bigger harvest, so they can sell more, they can make the money. So they use fertilizers, which again, most of them are chemicals. These fertilizers end up in your system, and again, because they do not belong there, they interfere with the natural chemistry of the body, whether it's your hormones, whether it's your lymphatic system. Somehow they interferes with it, and after so long, or even after a while, you start experiencing issues or you experience a chronic disease. Again, the other process is after they get these foods out of this process, they have to preserve them. Right? They preserve them in a manner so they can last longer, or they can get them to the stores. The methods that they use to preserve these foods is also harmful. So you can see the body is constantly, you know, affected by all these processes, all these substances that they are using, all these methods, processing them so they can last longer. All these are causing the body to constantly have to defend itself from these things that do not belong in the body. And this is what causes the issues that we are experiencing today, or causing the chronic situations that we are experiencing today. Now, again, we find that once you start eliminating these processes, or consuming foods that do not go through these processes, or consuming wild natural foods, you do not experience some or all the issues that most people were previously experiencing. Right? Most of these foods, again, you find them growing in the wild, or you find them growing uh, in a seasonal base, right? And if you're able to really take your time, you can identify these foods. You can even look in nature and see that fruit tree right there doesn't need man, or doesn't need human to grow, or to be able to produce, or to be able to survive. So you know that that's something that is very natural. It has not been interfered with, versus something that's coming out of the store. If it's coming out of the store, it has definitely been interfered with. So the first place that you want to look is something that hasn't gone through the process of farm to store. And then the next thing again is to look at things that do not require mankind to grow, things that don't require agriculture. Those are the best things to consume. There's quite a lot of them. However, again, due to the conditioning, or due to what we have been led to believe, or what we have been taught, um, it might seem that there could be scarcity, because again, the foods in the wilderness are not celebrated, or they're not even consumed. And actually, most people call them weeds, and either destroy them, right, or feed them to the animals, and then they eat the animals, not knowing that all the animals that you're eating, you're looking for the minerals that these natural plants have given the animal. Now, the problem with the animal is like you're going to inherit the DNA of the animals, microbe, mucus, cholesterol. You're going to inherit a lot of other things that are going to interfere with your natural system. And again, if people can just identify the things that grows in the wild and consume those, you'll be surprised as to how beneficial those can be, again, in this stage in life where we have to eat food. Because again, if you get to other stages of life, you realize that there's a lot of ways that you can maintain your energy without replenishing it. Because another problem that most of these foods does is once they get in the body, they robs us of, or they bind with the minerals that are already in our body, and they remove those minerals. So you become depleted of those minerals, and so you have to keep replenishing. However, you can get to a level where you have enough of these minerals, again, which is all you need, because that's what's going to um, power you up and sustain it with charging it up with things like sunlight, right? Things like being in the ocean, right? The ocean is full of minerals. That's why the ocean is very healing. The ocean water is very healing. Just dipping in the ocean, that's enough food. However, you gotta have an open. Your pores have to be open enough. Your lymphatic system has to be open enough to be able to also balance out the excess. Because again, there's two ways that you can uh, have a problem with the minerals is either having an excess of something or having a deficient of something, right? And the way to balance that out again is being around the element that are going to replenish and also doing things like fasting, right? Fasting is one of those most healing methods. Right now, actually, I'm on my 7 day fast, just drinking water. I ate a cantaloupe, actually, a fruit this morning because I knew I needed to talk to you guys, and you could tell by my voice. My voice was done. You couldn't hear nothing because all I've been drinking is water. But I feel really good because again, when you fast, you give your body time to drain out anything that doesn't belong in the body. Again, things like your colon is one of those areas where most people don't quite understand what happens in the colon. It's like a slaughterhouse. Your colon is a processing center. So everything you consume goes into your colon. And so if your colon is not clean, uh, you are not able to absorb minerals when you eat. So let's say the walls of the colon are all clogged up with constantly consuming things like fresh or things like complex starch. So whenever you consume something that might be good for you, you are not even absorbing the minerals to the colon walls. And so it's necessary to give yourselves a break once in a while to clear that out, to clear the whole colon, clean the whole colon, again, balance you out in areas where you could have excess, drain it out, right? Open up your lymphatic system. And then, if you feel, you can literally feel how good. And in the beginning, it's going to be challenging. Like my first 3 days were rough, because I'm used to eating, uh, so my body was not understanding what's happening, right? And I'm changing it or changing the system into uh, consuming heavy foods into, kind of not consuming any foods other than liquids. And going through the process, it can be challenging, especially for people who are doing it the first time. But again, there's different ways you can get into that, which is fruits. Fruit is one of the highest vibrational foods in it, that even if you look at nature, actually that's the only food that, if you ask me, that we were supposed to eat. That's the only food that we don't need to process. You take it straight from the tree and you consume it. And again, it's something that is nice. It's something that is sweet. It's something that is pleasant. So you can tell by testing it, this is something that you were supposed to eat. Now the problem with that, even fruits, they have modified the fruits. Now you find fruits that don't have seeds. You find fruits that have added sugar in them. You find fruits that also added starch because they have to combine two different fruits to make a third fruit. And so those might not be so good for you, but all natural wild fruits should be good for you. So if you want to take a break, this is a great way to take a break by just consuming fruits or just consuming smoothies, making smoothies out of these fruits, or just consuming juices out of these fruits. Just make sure they are juices from the fruits and not fruits that you buy from the store. Again, the best fruits to consume are the fruits that you see in the wilderness. Things like coconuts. Coconuts are very of a very high vibration. Again, even you look at it, a coconut have the same uh, arrangement or chemical arrangement uh, um, as the seawater and also as the human blood plasma. Right, this is something that have been even used where there was no blood somewhere, and they used coconut because somebody needed blood, and it worked. So things like coconuts are very high value when it comes to balancing out a human body. Again, this is something that you can see is natural. You don't need any man to for coconuts to grow or for coconut to survive. They'll grow, then they'll drop the seedlings, and then more coconuts will grow out of there. You don't need to plant it over and over again. But again, fruits like that, coconut water, even salads. Salads are also great because again, uh, the chlorophyll out of the the plants is also the same chemical composition, is the same setup as the human blood. So again, this is something that it can be very beneficial to the, because I mean you can see it, it's natural, it's the same setup, it's the same chemical formula. So it kind of becomes you when you consume it. I mean, nature is powerful how it's able to convert there. But this is the closest thing you can see is it's already coded in the cosmic arrangement. It's already coded to be similar. So using it gotta be of the highest value. Things like salads or greens. Greens are also very valuable, especially the native greens. Now, again, they have modified most of the greens, like the things we find in our environment are things like sukuma wiki. These are also modified. You never find sukuma wiki growing anywhere by itself. It had to be planted by man for it to grow. But things like amaranth or terere, you find this growing everywhere. Things like murenda, right? You'd find things like that growing in the wild. And this is the greens that they might be bitter or they might not taste so good, but they are very good for us. Again, at this stage in time. So consuming things of their nature is very important. Again, some of the other things that we can do is to give our bodies the break from eating, because when you eat, you use a lot of energy to process their food. And what end up happening is you don't have or you use up your energy with the process. Again, we are constantly eating, either constantly eating or constantly processing their food through the organs, right? So you don't have any time to go correct or fix areas that need to be fixed. So, giving yourself a time frame through which you eat. Let's say maybe you give yourself a window. Most people call the intermittent fasting nowadays, where you give yourself a certain window and say, hey, I'm gonna only eat through these 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, or 10 hours, or whatever, right? And the rest of the time, I'm not gonna eat. I'm just probably gonna just drink water, right? You find that that's very beneficial, especially for people who are trying to lose weight, because it gives the body the chance to either go use up the stored energy as fat. Remember, the body only takes what it needs right there, then it stores everything else as fat. So if you're eating breakfast, big breakfast, you take a little bit, it store everything else as fat. Lunch, big lunch, you take a little bit, you store everything else again as fat. Dinner, the same thing. So all this fat that's being stored don't never get to be used. So when you give yourself these windows of eating, it gives the body the chance to go use up some of this fat, and you get to lose weight. And again, open up systems like the colon, and you're able to eliminate, which is very important. Elimination is one of the most important aspects of us now while we're consuming food, because again, like I mentioned, this is your processing center. If you don't open it up, if it's not cleaned up, it's gonna create all type of issues which are gonna back up all through your body, and they're gonna manifest as different diseases, right? So it's very important to be able to address the colon. And the way to address that again is to consume the right foods, foods that digest quickly and come out of you very quickly. Fruits is one of those foods that are very easily digestible, come out of you very easily. Most of them are water based. Uh, and so once you consume them in an hour or two, they're already processed, and they're ready to come out of you. So again, the best breakfast to consume is fruits. Just consuming fruits will be one of your best breakfasts that you consume. Well, you can consume. It gives you a lot of energy. You feel very energetic. You are not legacy. You are not constipated. You don't have headaches. You don't have things that are bothering you. You're in a good mood. It really makes your overall health jump to the next level. Again, you want to consume your heavy food, or you want to consume your bigger meal, uh, during the day. This is, and again, you don't want to consume things that are going to make you sleepy. Things like, again, wheat, things like corn. These are very heavy for your body. They are going to make you sleepy. That's why if you eat a, a ugali, or if you eat a heavy lunch, you feel sleepy. But if you eat the right foods, uh, it is not going to make you feel sleepy. And as a matter of fact, eventually you realize that your stomach is the size of your fist. Most people don't realize that, but it will expand. It's capable of expanding and holding a lot of food, but its original size is the size of your fist. That's how much food we're supposed to eat at a time. But again, we have been trained and taught to eat, a lot of food, to a point that now you see a lot of people with either big bellies, right, or they're swollen, because again, the stomach is full, or is swollen, or is stretched out. Again, we are about 75% water, right? So our diet should be 75% liquid. However, that's not the case for most people. Most people diet is probably 25% liquid and 75% solid, which is the opposite. We're supposed to consume more liquids, more water, about 3 liters every day of water. And actually, most people are hydrated, or are actually dehydrated when they think that they are hungry. Uh, if you have a gallon of water or 3 liters of water every day, you will realize that uh, most of your issues, if you have some health issues, will go away. You'll also realize that you're energetic. You realize you're sleeping better. You realize your mood changes. All this is connected. Again, most of the issues that we deal with are connected with the foods that we consume. Nowadays, we see children, or most children that you see, that are acting up. They are basically acting up because we are feeding them the wrong raw materials. And so these raw materials is kind of interfering with their uh, natural self. And so the child again is feeling crazy, and so the child start acting up, and the parent doesn't know what's going on. In actuality, again, sugar is one of those harmful substances that, again, what it does is affect our brain. And once it affects our brain, it definitely affects our behavior. There's studies that have been done, and the conclusion has been sugar, glucose, is more addictive than things like cocaine. So you see, and again, this is all we have been consuming is sugar and blood. And again, sugar means all those carbohydrates, whether it's wheat, whether it's potatoes, whether it's rice, whether it's maize, whether it's sugar cane, all of that is sugar, right? And that's all we consume. That's all we consume every day. That and blood, which is from the animal products, right? You combine those two and you find the situation that we have been or we have created. Because again, this is a situation that we have created for ourselves. And again, the issue is it's not getting any better. It's getting worse because these things are able to corrupt. They will corrupt your mind. They're also very addictive, right? Most people cannot survive without sugar, without wheat, without meat. You know, most of these things are very addictive, and again, they alter your behavior, they alter your mood, they alter your natural rhythm, whether it's the sleep patterns, they alter your hormones, they alter the way you see life in general. So again, in a sense, it's like you are drunkard, right? It's not to the point of being drunk and not knowing what you're doing, but your mind is, in a sense, where it's not functioning the way it's supposed to function. And most people just walking around till a disease shows up and they're wondering, 1 minute I was fine, and then the next minute they have a chronic disease. But again, your body is constantly fighting, and all it takes is a slip up. And again, due to the environment, it's not able to defend itself when their slip ups comes, whether it's due to a pathogen, a virus, or due to stress that breaks down the whole system, and you have a chronic issue like cancer. Uh, Again, this is something that we can eliminate ourselves, and each one have to take it on their self to make sure that this is something they want. Because again, this is something that you create. And again, once we start creating it on a level of self, then community, then it becomes a collective consciousness that we create. And we can create this the way we want it to create to be. We want it to be, right? It have been created the way it is now, right? Again, due to whatever factors that are behind it, right? However, once you realize that, and you realize there's a better way, you start fighting if you want a better life. Again, like I say, there's so many levels to this. It's almost infinite, just like creation. Whatever we want it to be, that's what it is going to be, right? The issue now is has been created for us by mostly somebody else who is benefiting from this creation, and we are not in control. Again, you have things that are controlling you, that support themselves, right, or support uh, the whole system, right? You find that okay, if I don't take these, you feel so bad that you're like, no, I gotta take this so I can survive, or so I can be able to go by my day. I gotta take coffee, I gotta take tea, I gotta have sugar in it, I gotta have some wheat, I gotta have alcohol, I gotta have, because alcohol again is fermented sugar. That's all alcohol is. It's fermented sugar. I gotta have um, you know, um, whatever it is that moves you, or whatever it is that you need, or whatever it is you want. Now it have become a need because you can function without it, right? And the trick is they tell you, hey, everything in moderation. The problem is these things are capable of manipulating you to being addicted to them, right? And then you're not able to break away from them. You're not able to release the hold that they have on you. And that's what I was saying. Things like fasting is one of those uh, calibrating, or one of those mechanisms that you can use to break away from different things that have a hold on you. Whatever it is that have a hold on you, that you feel like, hey, I cannot go without this. It's important to find a way to actually go without it so you can break their hold. And again, life is definitely there to enjoy, right? There's so many things in life that we can enjoy. There's so many things that we want to enjoy. However, when these things becomes addictive, or they becomes that, hey, you cannot survive without them, then it start becoming a uh, ailments or illnesses that causes the quality of life not to be so good, or not to be enjoyable. I mean, again, we are here, uh, you know, to enjoy life. Me personally, I feel like I like feeling good. And I don't know about you guys, but I love feeling good. So I do whatever it takes to feel good. Before I used to use some of these substances, even now I still do, to make me feel good. However, I'm very careful not to fall into the grip of them. And then there becomes a problem, or they create an environment that causes a situation that can be harmful to you, your loved ones. Because again, when you become sick, you're not able to enjoy life. It affects your loved ones, it affects the community, and so on and so forth. So I think I can take questions if you guys have any questions, or anything that I didn't mention, or if I was repeating myself. I apologize. I kind of go with the flow, and sometimes I do kind of repeat myself. But that's the only way that I know how to do this, is just going with the flow. So if anybody have any questions or anything that they want to add, this would be a great time.
Thank you, Brother Kamau. It was such a nice presentation, such an eye opener. And as you said, everyone is perfect the way they are. So the way you presented it, it was perfect, because that is the level of perfection you could bring it forth. So for me, I would like to put a short comment on everything, which you have spoken about natural foods and about who humanity is. I'll just talk at it at a spiritual sense, just to be brief, so that we can have few questions, then we close up. Human is energetic being. He's energetic being, therefore he survives or he lives through energy. And energy, and one thing which we fail to ignore is that everything is energy. The reason number one, which first makes us humans to eat, that first thought which came to a human that I should eat, it came to them after they fall into separation, seeing that everything is separate from themselves, outside of them. That I am me, and that is a car. I am me, and that is a dog. Immediately that veil dropped of separation is where man thoughts of eating came forth, because when he was in unison with everything, he didn't need to get energy from anywhere, but from all that is, from everything that is. So number one, that thing which made man fall to think of eating is because of separation, because everything else is energy. If they were one with that, we will never need to eat. And when the need of us eating came forth, we were supposed to eat something which will keep. We were supposed to eat a substance which is going to keep us grounded. And we could not eat. As much as we were to eat, we could not eat something of higher density. You have to eat of lower density. This is the second density. It has two types of life: plants and animals. We were not supposed to eat animals. We were supposed to eat plants only. Why plants? Because number one, plants are grounded. Plants are antennas, that which traps higher energies from above to the below. Plants do not move through time like animals. Animals, they move through time. Moving through time is that if you do something wrong to a baboon, let me tell you, or a chimpanzee, let me tell you one thing. When you come next year, it will remember you. Why? Because it moves through time. Animals move through time. They can remember things, and that is what brings the emotional part there. Animals, they are in second density. They have awareness. Immediately, there is a group of dogs here. They are already aware that we are this group of dogs. Immediately, there's another group of dogs coming around the corner. They will start fighting with them. They have awareness. Moving through time, and they have self-awareness that I am this dog, and that is that dog. I can attack it. They have awareness. Plants are not moving through time, but they are within time, in the moment, within time. They do not know that we are this plant and they are that plant. If you put a certain type of a plant in a certain area and you leave a space, when you come to put some other form of plant, there will be no differences, no separation. Not that I am this plant, we are that plant, you are that plant, let us attack those plants. It is not that. All plants dwells in peace in the present moment, now and here. Yesterday does not exist, and tomorrow does not exist. I am not this, I am not that. I am just is. That's why we are told to. The reason why we are told to eat of these plants, not animals, is because plants are grounded and they are pure. Their energy is pure. For animals, awareness is there. They move through time. They know yesterday. They know tomorrow. Immediately in the morning, the gate open. This gate opens. We are supposed to go and graze there. So all us as humanity, we went after the animals. This aspect immediately something developed self-awareness. There is a soul there, emotions. So in plants there are no emotions. In animals there are emotions, traumas, and karmas. So a lot of what is happening here is just disorientation from what we are consuming. We are not consuming what is natural. What is natural is what is just is. It's not this or that. It's not here or there. It's just is there now moment. The plants were just to connect us. The separation is what is making man to fall into this physical, to get stuck into this physical density, and to get more stranded by getting confused on in where to align. All this rushing for food, meat, and everything, we are rushing to align to that one energy called God. This whole game you are seeing is that rushing to that energy, which we call God. And in plants, it's in plenty because it's pure. It's not defiled. It's not defiled in plants. It's never defined. But in animals, they program themselves, not even being programmed, in groups, in clans. They do that. Immediately a lion sees the other herd of gazelles, they are gazelles. Let's attack them. But plants, they see another plant, it is not food. They are surviving. This is what plants do. They are surviving through energy naturally. That's what nature is. They are surviving naturally with the energy that is. They are second descent with animals, but they are surviving naturally without predating, depending on one another for food. They are surviving natural. That is what man was supposed to be. Therefore, when man thought of eating, he was supposed to eat that because that was the true reflection of what man is, nature. Not this, not that. Does not need that, does not need this. It cannot classify itself with anything, with any other tree, like separate itself with any other tree. When you put them together, they are just together. That's why that's when we thought about eating, but actually, man was not supposed to be eating at all. And this is what fasting is all about. Fasting is about man trying to become that original perfection which he was, where he could survive, he could be surviving through the energy of the all. Coming back to the knowing that everything is God, everything is divine, everything is one energy presented to us in different aspects. By not denying and not separating with anything, not judging anything, because everything is energy. There is nothing God is not, and God can never be absent. This is what the journey back to God is. All this eating, that's why I'm telling people, everything is a lesson. Don't think you are just supposed to be eating and eating because you are supposed to be eating. Everything is a lesson, people. Everything, even your shitting, they are all lessons. This eating is a great lesson, but many people do not know. What is it about plants? We are eating second decade beings. What about animals? What is so special about plants? What is nature? All this is that one journey back to the source. Last time I was having a talk with Sheila, and Sheila was saying, like, Salim, you are always saying that fasting is not a priority. Like fasting has no meaning. But I told her, no, I didn't say it has no meaning. It is not a priority, number one. It is not a priority. Why? I'm telling you, this journey, before we thought about eating, we could survive because of energy of all that is, which exists everywhere, which is called the omnipresence of God. Therefore, before we start fasting, first let us seek and seek God, identify God in everything, that is becoming one with each and everything, seeing God each and in each and everything. We are here to seek God, to reveal God in everything, becoming to that oneness. First, seeing God in every other person, seeing God in those people you hate, those you can't forgive, those you can't tolerate. Seeing God in them, not even seeing, because God seems to be absent in them. You claiming God in them. Claiming God in them because you know that God can never be absent. He is omnipresent everywhere, therefore in everything. He is here in these people. Claiming. That is how. First, how? Claiming God outward. Then, ceremony starts now of fasting. Remembrance. These are the first. You build that foundation. That foundation of becoming to your true self. And then after that, You start the ceremonies now. Fasting, devotions, praising, singing, all these ceremonies. They are for your remembrance, but you have already built that foundation, which is seeing God outside of yourself in each and everything, in each and everything, especially in places and people and circumstances where God has been intently denied. Places where God has been intently denied. And these are these places where God has been intently denied. This is a prostitute. There is no God in them. God has been intently denied there because God can never be absent. Those dark places where people say, Hakuna Mungu hapa, there's no God here. This man does not know God. Let me tell you, this is what happens. This is what happens. Those are places where God has been intently denied. And those are places we are supposed to seek and reveal God. Then when we do the ceremonies and our rituals, we align back to who we are. This is what religion has programmed first. Let us fast, let us pray, let us sing for the Lord, let us do this, let us do that. This ritual, all rituals are valid, they are not wrong. But let me tell you one thing, those rituals are what we call as the curtain. You have to know that that curtain behind your sofa set, there is something holding it up there. It's called a curtain rail. The curtain rail is seeking divine in everything, seeing God in everything, seeing Christ in everything, claiming God where God seems to be absent. That which holds the curtain, the rail, let me tell you, it is called God is, period. And the curtain are the ceremonies. The rail, it is called God is. God is, it is called that, God is. Anything, everything you see, anything outside of your skin, God is. It is called that. Immediately you don't have that rail or that rod which holds the curtain. Let me tell you, your curtain is behind the seat, is behind the sofa set. It's no longer shielding the window, it is down. When you can't see God in each and everything, let me tell you, your prayers, your fasting, your singings, praising, and this and that, they are all down, down, down behind the sofa. This is all the journey, all these things we are supposed to be participating. All these things we are participating in this physical universe. All the things, the friends we have, the jobs we are given, how we manage them, our marriages, how we eat, how we handle ourselves to this kind of people. They are all lessons. It's not called life. to be lived. It is life to be experienced. People, you will reincarnate back here. Everything in you. Last time I said, even immediately, you open your eyes on your bed in the morning. Immediately open your eyes. Everything is a lesson. Everything which comes, it pops up in front of you from your mosquito net. It is a lesson. Seek these lessons. Seek the God in everything. God is the lesson. Seek God in everything. Everything is divine. And everything is a lesson, but we are taking things to be just too local. Our participations in everything, in our friends' places of works, everywhere, in our places of worship, churches, and everywhere with everyone, our interacting with everyone are just but that going back to this one God. Everything is a catalyst outside of you. Everything is a catalyst presented to your reality. Is that this one journey seeking God? You cannot deny anything. Going back to the remembrance of who the original perfection of what man was. I'm telling you. And it is about that eating. That is about eating. It's about that. When we are told, if it's about man was not supposed to eat, immediately brought separation. He lost energy and started seeking energy, and he was asked to eat of the second density. Second density, he was not supposed to eat that which has already attained awareness, but that which is just is. Not past, does not know what comes, but this present moment, the plant, the original perfection of man. That was what Adam was. That was what Adam was before he was split into two, into Eve and himself. Man was that, and then man was split into Adam and Eve. When people are asked to come and get married, it's not about who is to be subordinate to who, or who is to submit to who. It's not about who provides what or who doesn't provide what. It is about coming back, that one journey, coming back to the original perfection of one man, when man was one. It's everything. This stories of foods, stories of religions, stories of devil worshipping, stories of everything is just but journey back to the source. If you want this journey to be simple, listen to me. Walk with the single eye that sees God outside of yourself. I stop there. If anyone has a question, they can ask. Kamau finishes, we close. Or anyone who has a comment, please. Even Kamau, if you have a comment.
Yeah, brother, that was very deep um, revelation or statement or understanding about the difference between plants and animals. Thank you for that download, brother.
Let me tell you one thing, Kamau, my brother. I'll tell you one thing. This concept of plants and animals, I didn't know it an hour ago. Never in my life. Never. I knew it today while I was sharing it. It's a journey. Sheila,
I actually have nothing to say. I think for me, what you have said makes a lot of sense. And me to just be able to clarify that. I was saying that fasting is also just for people to know it's part of the journey of preparing the body. Because when we have eaten wrong foods, when we have not been able to do what is right by our body, we cannot be able even to commune with ourselves or to be in the present moment as we should, because then our body gets to be too heavy and our inner being is not able to vibrate or calibrate in the levels that they should. So one way, as I was telling you, just to clarify what I was sharing that day, one way of being able to equip or to empower the inner being is through fast. So it's like the way Kamau is saying, many of us, our bodies are not able to even, or rather our inner being, sometimes we get so it gets to be so weighed down by the food that we eat. And that is why you can find somebody is able to go into higher dimensions just by entering into some of those parts of fasting, that other people will do all these other things to excite themselves or to enter into other levels of consciousness or to have encounters or experiences through the different parts that people do. Somebody else who fasts is able to get to those levels because then the inner man is strong. Your body gets cleansed of all the things that are of no value to you, and you're able to calibrate or you're able to vibrate at the level that you should. So for me, as we keep saying that this is a journey and every part, somebody else can take bang to feel high, somebody else can take this or that or the other. For me, all I need to do is to fast. And I enter into those levels of experiencing myself or the inner being or the spirit within me at a higher level. So for me, it's just important for us to know that those things, that whatever works for you works for you.
yeah,
Yeah,
actually,
whatever
yeah.
works for you works for you. Whatever
And
doesn't
actually,
work.
when you said that some our bodies are affected by the foods which we consume, this is what happens. This is what happens. As I said, plants, they just are the way they are instead of being. And here comes the geometry of the foods. The geometry of the foods are always distorted immediately the foods are processed. When Kamau once said that we are supposed to eat foods the way they are, like how monkeys do, from the trees plucking and eating, that is what we are supposed to do. When you process food, you distort its geometry pattern. That's why the foods we eat don't serve us, because everything in the universe is geometry. Everything must align to everything. Immediately one is distorted, it cannot, and you put it in another geometry of your body, there becomes chaos. That's why everything is not working in our bodies out of our foods, is because of processing. Then when we take them, they are not that which they are meant to be. The state of that which was original state of being, not being here, not being there, not being that, or not being this, but just to be. That original perfection, the original geometry of the universe is distorted immediately you process any food. Even if you cook it, yes. Hey, Carol and Maggie, do you have a question? Okay, silence means that no one has a question.
I don't have a
Carol,
question. Just wondering now who brought out this fire now. Because some of us we've been living to it instead of it to live. But it's really a journey, like you're saying. But we have to give respect to the plants and seek permission to talk to them, to hug them. So it's really a journey. I appreciate that today's teachings.
yeah, thank you. It's a reminder. Even me, from that revelation today, I should be honoring plants. I should be honoring plants, talk to them, because they have been waiting for us to talk to them. They have been waiting for us to talk to them, and they share with us their wisdom, the wisdom of the plants is something else. It's a very good reminder and a wake-up call at the same time. Thank you for that. My brother Kamau, let me appreciate you for your time. Let me appreciate you for your sharings. Let me appreciate everyone who has been here. And all what I want to encourage you guys,